Hi everyone, welcome back. Or if you're just joining, my name is Maya and welcome to my channel, Cranleyplace, where I'm posting content on scarf style, knot tutorials, and more. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to be notified of new videos, which I'm publishing weekly. And if you've been enjoying my videos, please consider sponsoring a super thanks, which will go directly towards production of more of the content that you've come to look forward to on my channel. Thanks in advance for your support. In this video, I'd like to talk about another relatively new addition to my collection. This is a double-faced 90cm scarf from the Spring-Summer 2022 collection called Les Folies du Ciel by Loic Dubigeon. I'll share a bit about the artist behind this scarf, give some historical context for its theme, and take a closer look at design details. Let's get started. Starting with the artist, Loic Dubigeon was born in 1934 to a family of ship owners in Nantes, France. Not only was he an accomplished artist, but a sculptor and muralist who originally trained as an architect at the Arts et Métiers de Paris. But to be fair, saying he descended from a family of ship owners is somewhat of an understatement. His family founded arguably one of the premier shipbuilding companies in Nantes, with cranes from their former shipyards now designated French national monuments. To give you a bit of background, Chantier Dubigeon was a shipyard established in 1760 by Julien Dubigeon in Nantes. Over the course of the company's history, they built everything from masted and cruise ships, ferries and sailing vessels, to destroyers, minesweepers, and submarines, the latter primarily for the French Navy. The family eventually sold the company in the early 1900s, and it passed through several owners and mergers before eventually having its last shipyard closed in 1987. So consider this context in which Loic created the original version of this design, Les Folies du Ciel, issued in 1984. According to the backstory on Hermès.com, humans have always dreamed of flying, and certainly we can see examples in early mythology such as Pegasus, the winged horse of the gods and frequent recurring Hermès theme, Icarus, who of course flew too close to the sun with his wings made of wax and feathers, King Cavis, and apologies if I butchered that pronunciation, he was a mythological Shah of Persia who attached eagles to his throne to fly around his kingdom, and Alexander the Great, who harnessed 4 mythical winged animals called griffins to a basket to fly around his realm. Now that I think about it, I wonder if we might see any of the latter as scarf themes in the future. That could be interesting. At any rate, let me give you a brief history of early attempts at flight and flying vehicles in general, starting with kites. Kites were invented in China somewhere between 475 and 220 BC, and in fact they were exclusive to China for many years before the knowledge of how to make and use them became widespread. Kites played a role in providing military intelligence for the Chinese forces. The first Chinese kites were in fact used for measuring distances, which was helpful for moving large armies across difficult terrain. They were also used to calculate and record wind readings and provided a unique form of communication, similar to ship flags at sea. In ancient Greece, an engineer named Hieron from Alexandria worked with air pressure and steam to create sources of power. One experiment he developed was the aeolipile, translated literally as, quote, wind ball. This device is the world's first recorded example of a steam engine or reaction steam turbine. At that time, it was regarded more of a curiosity than leading to anything practical. Then, of course, Leonardo da Vinci in the 1480s made the first real studies of human flight, creating over 100 drawings that illustrated his theories on flight. His ornithopter flying machine showed his concept of how humans could fly. While it was never actually created, modern-day helicopters are based on this concept. It wasn't until the late 1700s to mid-1800s that we began to see actual flying vehicles, like the Montgolfier brothers, who invented the first hot air balloon, which used smoke from a fire to blow hot air into a silk bag that was attached to a basket. The hot air then rose and allowed the balloon to be lighter than air. Fun fact, on September 19, 1783, the first passengers of the hot air balloon were a sheep, a rooster, and a duck. This was at Versailles, in front of Louis XVI, Marie Antoinette, and the entire French court. The balloon rose to about 6,000 feet and traveled for more than a mile for about 8 minutes. Then, the first manned flight happened later that year on November 21st, 1783. Gliders came next, followed by the aerodrome, which never flew, but was instrumental in its concept that flying vehicles needed power. Then dirigibles, or airships, basically distinguished from balloons as lighter-than-air vehicles that are powered and steerable versus free-floating like a balloon. Then, of course, the first airplane by the Wright brothers in the early 1900s. With all that background, let's take a look at this design. It features 18 projects, from the most scientific to the most eccentric, as testament to the research conducted until the start of the early 20th century, when the airplane was introduced as a means of aerial transport. We see hot air balloons, airships, and flying ships of all kinds with their pennants flapping in the wind. A tribute to those early pioneers who were foolish enough to dream that one day humans could maybe fly. You see some bird-shaped airships, some with what look like oars on the bottom, many topped with balloons, and one with birds harnessed as if to a carriage. My personal favorite is the one that looks like a large flying fish. I'm not sure how buoyant many of these would be, but that is somewhat the point of this design, right? Les Folies du Ciel, or the foolishness of the skies. You also notice in the bottom right-hand corner someone with a flag and hat, who looks remarkably like the flag-waving rider atop the 24 Faubourg flagship store in Paris. Coincidence? I think not. Then, of course, this is a double-sided carré, which multiplies your styling possibilities. I love that you don't have to be careful about the backside showing. In fact, you almost want to make sure that it is. As an aside, this is my second double-sided Hermès scarf, the first being the skeleton scarf, C'est la Fête, by Daskina Moore from the men's silk collection. If you haven't yet seen my review on that, you'll see a link here in the upper corner. I've only ever seen this in 2 colorways on the US website, and of course, I was looking for the one that was more elusive and that I'd only seen in photos. Not that I didn't like the other 2, but I was attracted to this other colorway because, first, it's quite different than anything in my collection, and second, it's double-faced, and at the time, which was earlier this spring, I was looking to add another one to my collection. I actually got this in May, so thank you for your patience that I'm just doing a video on it now. One colorway is a pale pink, green, and red version, and the other a blue, red, and pink. I chose this pistachio green, pale pink, and orange version, which reminds me of a summer sherbet. In all 3 colorways is this lovely gradient on the borders, being most intense on the bottom and fading to a subtle shading on the top. This is such an unusual contrast that I don't think I've ever noticed on an Hermès scarf before. Then on top of that gradient is a contrast hem, which of course I adore. And again, for those of you who are wondering, the weight on this scarf is no different than any other Hermès 90 centimeter silk twill scarf, weighing in at 65 grams. As seems is their practice with certain designs, Hermès also introduced at the 2022 Watches and Wonders the Arceau Les Folies du Ciel, a limited edition timepiece inspired by the scarf of the same name. It has a mother-of-pearl dial, the textures of which can be seen through the wisps of smoke from the chimneys, and two neorelite resin pink and green hot air balloons billowing in the wind. These kiln-fired elements take on curved relief to create an illusion of hot air filling them and allowing the ship to take flight. The hand-painted bird gondola is white gold, and the balloon at 12 o'clock, also hand-painted, is designed as a balance, spinning on its axis with wrist movements and adding the light, unexpected touch typical of Hermès creations. A 38mm white gold case houses the Hermès H1837 watch movement, and it's topped off with a Chantilly white alligator strap from the Hermès workshop. Limited to only 24 pieces, this very special watch was priced at a reported $73,000. And apparently, it's also water resistant to 100 feet or 30 meters. I should certainly hope so for that price, although I'm not sure I'd take a beauty like this into the water. Makes the scarves look like quite a bargain, right? So there you have it, a bit about the designer behind this double-faced scarf, some historical context for its theme, and a closer look at its design details. Please like the video if you enjoyed it, and let me know what you think in the comments. In future episodes, I'll share other scarf reviews, knot tutorials, and more, so be sure to hit that subscribe button to be notified of new videos. Thanks again for joining me today. Until next time!